this stuff they're doing is so evil. It's almost like if you had a video game and the point of the video game was to be as evil as possible to as many black people in Africa as possible. Like,
Yeah.
and then making it so that they're like
Thank you
trying to get
to
us
whoever made the
drinking
Dyer wave
urine
audio.
and
I like that. It's some sweet stuff. In fact, I may just let that play again while we let some more people roll on in here. Who is this? I don't know. It's me. It's Amid the Ruins. It's a guy who makes Dyer wave music. It's Amid the Ruins. Dyer wave music. What I've talked about in, probably 100 articles at Jay's Analysis is the implementation of the AI smart grid and the giant smart cities, which is what IBM talks about publicly building. And that's where we're going, and that's what I think we have to be really concerned about. So all of these tensions, they are part of a long-term strategy to basically get everybody moved into mega cities. They'll be forced off of land and so forth for environmental reasons, and basically concocted and invented environmental nonsense. Then you'll be stuck in some hellhole mega city in a basically a carton-size apartment living over a Target or something, or inside of a Target or a Walmart, as I said several years ago. It's actually coming true now. There's actually Target cities. This is all part of the long-term globalist strategy. So, but to get there, you've got to have the constant clash, the constant alchemical blending and mixing and smashing together right out of Manichaeanism to produce the convergence, to produce the synthesis. And that's what's crucial in all this, and what is absolutely true from an alchemical, esoteric, philosophical, and geopolitical perspective, the fact that the ruling elite seek to be post-human. JaysAnalysis.com. Welcome. Happy romantic comedy Hollywood date.
It's too cold to go on a date tonight. Is everybody else in the cold?
Your heart is too cold for a date. Is everyone what?
Is everyone else in the cold? I think so. Tonight.
The whole world is cold.
The whole... Mm-hmm.
Hearted. Ice, ice, baby. Do, 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 do.
It's cold.
Anyway, being a male masculine, I don't know the world of the rom-com. And so, if you have ever met a female of the species, they know this world. And they will initiate you into this world. So, what we have to do is decipher it. And so now we're going to give my take. Now, I've not seen all of these. Obviously, every girl has seen every one of them. I saw a couple of these, handful of these. Some of them obviously better than others. Some of them aren't technically rom-coms, but they fit into that category. So we're going to be breaking down, dissecting a selection of the list. There's actually not as many rom-coms as I thought. I thought that this was a genre with infinite products.
There's a lot more.
I know there are, but I'm saying there's actually not as many as you would think.
Yeah.
So
this was the kind of movie that was allowed in my house and family because they're wholesome. They're
some,
family movies. None of these I don't think are over PG-13. So for good clean, it's supposed to be clean movies, but they're not always that way. They can get pretty raunchy too.
Sometimes, yeah. I don't think we didn't choose anything raunchy, obviously.
No, but that's why I've seen all these, because they're just an innocent love story. You know.
Although there are some interesting themes and messages that are not as innocent as they may appear. There's a lot of ideological propaganda. You know, there's a lot of advertising. There's a lot of, I mean, almost the idea of a romantic comedy itself is selling the idea that true love is a sort of mystical destiny experience that you find a soulmate through being, I don't know what, right? Like stumbling through life, being the fool archetype of the tarot deck. I don't know what it is that is the, well, we did say that the protagonist usually has to overcome his psychological hang-up. And the girl too, right? So the guy has to see his flaw, his mistake. The girl has to see hers, but really it's the conflict, the tension between them that brings about the revelation that ultimately leads to the self-knowledge that they needed before they could have a relationship. That's a common trope and theme in pretty much most of the ones that you had me watch. So why don't you pick one that stands out, and we'll go there and see what we think.
Okay, let's just talk about the very first one, 50 First Dates. Have you seen that? Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. Now, a long time ago, I did see this one, but I don't remember what's going on. Refresh me.
Just the story is this girl has brain damage, and she doesn't remember anything that happened the day before,
So it's an internalized Groundhog Day.
Kind of. And Adam Sandler meets Drew Barrymore. She's so magical and whimsical and wonderful in the one day that she lives her life every day that he has to, like, win her over, but he only has a day
Because she forgets him?
Yes.
It sounds like the most concocted rom-com idea ever. What if she has amnesia every day? And it's like Groundhog, but in reverse meta amnesia version.
This one is ridiculous because I don't think any man would bother to try and win it. Like, I don't think anybody has that much energy to win over a girl, no matter how cool she is.
Well, Bill Murray in Groundhog Day expends all of his energy eventually trying to win Andie MacDowell because he can't get her. Right? He kind of gets everything he wants, and he can't have her. And she keeps slapping him because his advances are rejected. Yeah. He's cock-blocked by Punxsutawney Phil on a daily basis. But Punxsutawney Copperfield. Oh, get it?
Yeah. So
anyway,
it's just
what happens at 50 First Dates?
He just takes her on 50 dates, and somehow in the back of her mind, like, she sort of remembers, but, like, he still has to keep this up.
Feel like I've met you, right?
Yeah, and then at the end, she has a baby, and they are on a boat to somewhere cold, but
does she not remember the baby daddy?
There's like a videotape.
Like, if you didn't remember each day before, you could have a baby. You wouldn't even know who the daddy was.
There's a videotape he makes for her, and he's like, play this, and she wakes up and plays. It's the videotape of, like, catching her up to present day.
Okay.
So it's pretty preposterous, I think. That's why I wanted to mention it, because it was just really...
But it's one of your favorites or not?
No, I just think if you like those two people, Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, you might like it.
What's all those voices Adam Sandler used to...
Yeah. And he probably sings a little song on a little ukulele. I bet you. I haven't seen it in a long time, but there's something like that.
I don't remember Adam Sandler's whole shtick, but that's it. All I remember is that that's the whole thing is... And it's just over and over.
I love you.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, so that's 50 First Dates. And then the next one I wrote down was...
Drew Barryless, not Drew Barrymore.
Sweet Home Alabama.
And this is
that one. He sort of paid attention to that one. Do I have? Yeah, I have a couple.
Actually, yes, we did do Can't Buy Me Love in one of the 80s shows.
Yeah.
And we did do, I think, Say Anything in one of the 80s shows. And those are actually pretty good movies and they do count. But since we've already done them, we didn't count them in this list.
Mm-hmm.
But
So, Sweet Home Alabama, you remember anything about that? You remember?
Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
Another common theme, as we see in the rom-com trope, is the city sophisticate.
Yeah.
Very sophisticated, better than you, rubes, rednecks, comes to the country. Lo and behold, they find love after a series of unfortunate events, mishaps,
Well, this one
tomfoolery, and funny business.
and hijinks. Don't forget hijinks. She's a sophisticated city career woman who's like fashionista, clothing line designer lady.
Yeah. And
She's
she
escaped her humble roots from the South.
and she misses her redneck boyfriend from high school, right?
No, she is getting proposed to by the guy from the Doctor Show. Do you know what I'm talking about? Grey's Anatomy. What's his name? He's in Can't Buy Me Love.
Okay, I don't know.
Patrick Dempsey.
Oh, I thought you meant the redneck boyfriend.
No, she's proposed to by Patrick Dempsey.
And he's the city sophisticate.
Yes,
Man.
he's the son of a mayor of New York City.
Okay.
So this gets political too. Remember? And he paid attention maybe like 45%.
Kind of sort of fading out on some of these.
So-
Some of them I liked a little better than the other ones, but
She has to go back and get.
is that the plot of Doc Hollywood? Yeah, I remember seeing Doc Hollywood. Yeah, go ahead.
She has to go back to her hometown and get a divorce from her first husband so she can marry her prince in New York City.
The redneck dude.
And
But she
this-
remembers that she loves the redneck.
This is like our first trope too. New York City features in a lot of these romantic comedies. It's like the most.
Well, that's sophistication, right? So that's where you're at when you're elite, and then you have to go help the poor country rubes understand the world and understand things, right? Because those of us from, like, we don't know anything in Tennessee. We're
This
all just,
one has kind of
we all love our cousins.
the opposite because she goes back to get a divorce, and it's her first husband, her high school sweetheart, her first love, and
Right.
she thinks he's still a country redneck, but he's got this like artistic business that's really successful now. And she's
I do airbrush on the side of vans.
she's like, where'd you get all this money?
We'll do if you want a Confederate flag and a skull on your van, I could do the sweetest damn airbrush in the Tri-County area.
I like watching this just for Reese's like country.
You want like a
sass.
skull with a knife in it? Like a knife going into a skull on the side of a van. I could do it, dude, with a wolf howling at the moon with Gandalf in the background. It'd be so dope, dog.
Yep.
Somebody needs to draw that. Now that I said that. A Confederate flag with a skull. With the wolf howling at a moon, the knife going into the skull. And Gandalf in the background, a wizard, dude, a sorcerer on the side of a van. That'd be.
It says, needs Skinnerd. Yes, definitely. It needs some Leonard Skinnerd in there.
Lord of the Skinnerd. Leonard of the Rings. Skinnerd, Leonard of the Rings.
The two Skinnerds.
Have the one ring on the side of the van, like the Elvish script.
But it's a wedding ring too, because it's a rom-com.
Oh, I'm just thinking about a redneck dude doing that, like awesome. Like, so you do see this, right? You probably see this in California, I'm guessing. The cholos, right? Don't cholos like a lot of damn airbrush on a van, right?
Yeah. That's funny.
It's always got to be Virgin of Guadalupe, right? So, like, if a redneck and a LARPer and a cholo meet and have a van together that they share, it would have the Virgin of Guadalupe, right? And then you could have Gandalf, and then you could have the One Ring, and they're all reaching for the One Ring. Anyway. That's cracking me up.
So her parents are country.
Somebody's draw that. That'd be great.
What do they say?
A Freemason
Confederate
American.
knife, flag, Mescal, Gandalf by the tree.
An eagle, American eagle, and his claws got the one ring. The ring is hanging from his claw, and you can see the Elvis script on the side of the ring. Anyway, go ahead. Get liquored up. I don't drink, dude, ever. This is not beer. This is cold brew. It's not even that good. An airbrush wolf with Gandalf and lightning and the one ring and a Confederate flag and a knife stabbing into a skull, dude. That would be dope with a wolf howling. All right, go.
Where were we?
Rom-coms.
Oh, so they figure out that she still loves him, but he just had some growing up to do. So this is a common theme, right?
Yeah, so the dudes typically have a frozen adolescence, right? Arrested Development thing that they got to overcome.
Failure to launch is all about that, I think. I haven't seen that in a very long time, but I think it's like...
I can gather that from the title. That makes sense.
Yeah. The parents want him out, and he needs to get married, but he's...
Are you talking about a different movie or the redneck dude?
It's just something they have in common. So,
I'm from the South. I can say redneck dude. I get called that. That van story. It sounded like a Theo Von van story.
Yeah.
Man, one time I was in a damn van, dude, and it had like a damn Gandalf on the side with an eagle and the one ring, dude. Anyway, go ahead.
What I liked about this movie was that they
Which one?
Sweet Home Alabama.
Okay, when are we
I know,
we're moving
on.
Let's move on.
Is that they didn't make a villain out of her fiance. He just let her go gracefully back to her one.
Patrick Dempsey?
Yeah.
That's the Patrick Reed Dempsey arc.
Yep.
Ha.
And she gets to punch the mayor in the face or something like that. I don't remember. But there's always like a... Candace
is that
Bergen,
a coveted thing to do? She
Candace
gets to.
Bergen is Patrick Dempsey's
do
mom. And she's the senator, or whatever, politician woman who has to, like, vet Reese Witherspoon before she marries son. Anyways, let's move on. It's so dumb. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. This one has a lot of...
Yeah, all right. It's one of my first big roles, when I was in there with old Goldie Hawn Spawn. I called her Goldie Spawn because she was a daughter of Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Spawn.
I know.
Kate Hudson. I didn't even know Kate Hudson was Goldie Hawn's daughter until the other day, and I was like, we were watching this, and I was like, she looks like Goldie Hawn, and you were like, it's her daughter.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay, but not by Kurt Russell.
No, I don't think so. So she works at a magazine. That's a common thing, and he's an architect. Mm-hmm. And there's a bet.
That's a typical rom-com thing.
Yeah.
The guys have their play. You can't do XYZ.
Yeah, yes, I can.
You must get 10 phone numbers by the end of this week. And then I can do it.
Yeah.
And then the girl is... I forget what this one is. Oh, it's like, can you lose them in 10 days?
No.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
No, he has to get her.
Right.
And she has to repel him.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, yeah.
I remember this one. Yeah.
So... They think that there's all these rules. Girls do all the wrong things by falling in love. And if you do these things, that you will repel them. Like ask for favors and call him while he's at work and be like super sweet and say, I miss you. Be vegetarian, cry a lot, be insecure, be overtly sexually aggressive. Like all of these things she's trying to...
This one has the idea of what the girls expect and what the guy expects, what the guys think they want and what the girl thinks she wants, and then what they actually want. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, kind of. It's a weird way to speak in a relationship, but they're basically using each other.
Well, it's about deception and finding what really. This one has, I mean, I wouldn't say it's philosophical, but it's a little better than most of them because it is about, number one, what matters most, and the issue of deception. And a little bit to do with the game and having game, but more so about mistaken ideas of relationships. And wasn't there something to do with like consumerism? Weren't we? Because
there was like a diamond campaign ad.
Yeah, it's about capitalism, sales, marketing, consumerism, and then how the relationship is mirrored and viewed through the lens of like attainment of another asset, attainment of another thing, selling yourself, selling something, right?
Yeah, because
I'm remembering this. Yeah, because he's in advertising, and so there is this whole idea of the philosophy of advertising. And can you sell anything? Can you sell yourself?
Yeah.
Can you sell who's the best salesman, right? Can you sell yourself to any chick?
He's like, yeah, I can do it. I could get any woman in this room I wanted to right now. Just challenge me, tell me who you want.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's trying to prove that he can sell these diamonds or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's jewelry ads, right? Like
Yeah.
diamond, like how to get the woman, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember all that now. Yeah.
So this has the common thing where they break up at the beginning of Act 3. They always break up, and
Right, you got to have
he has this realization.
the seeing of the flaw.
Yeah.
Oh, you lied about X, so therefore I hate you. And then you realize later on, oh, I see why they did it, and it was all because they liked me all along, right?
What? There was like something to the relationship. Anyways.
Yeah.
Someone almost always moves away or is trying to move away, and then
Yes, Matthew is going into
Like-
space in a Lincoln.
there's always
I'm
some.
going to go into the future because there's a me in the future that's in a tesseract outside of four-dimensional space, and that's the real me. I love me. I love the me that's in the future outside of me.
Get it?
Yes. The songs in this are cringe. Remember, they're pretty bad. So that's.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
the songs, no.
I just think it's annoying. Like all these classic feminine traits are somehow super annoying because she's
like which ones?
she's just nurturing and everything's overblown and out of proportion, obviously.
Why is nurturing annoying?
But
you should be nurturing.
yeah,
you nurture.
exactly.
Nurture me. Nurture.
I do nurture you.
I need a nurture.
But like saying I love you and being sweet and
Nurture me.
perky and crying a lot. I don't know. I guess it's just like over the top. What they think females behave like, but it's really over the top.
Because that's how y'all is. Sometimes she do be like that, but it is. All times she do be like that, but
Yeah.
it is.
But then there's the opposite of that, which is the cool girl, which is an annoying archetype.
The
as
girl
well.
that farts and burps and
Yeah, like there's something about
plays video
Mary.
games.
That could be a rom-com, but it was just too
I don't know.
raunchy.
We didn't watch
You've
that.
never seen something about Mary, but you know she likes beer and golf and hot dogs, and she likes video games and everything. She's just a hot man. Like it's not a feminine personality.
I can
whatsoever.
identify with that.
So then I had Harry Met Sally on this because that's a classic rom-com. What are you doing,
Hot
Zoolander?
man. Hot man.
He's Zoolander.
Hot man.
When Harry Met Sally,
I have not seen this. I can't imagine any chick going after Billy Crystal.
I caught it in the hotel when we were going from our trip. And so this one is about, can a guy and a girl just be friends?
Perennial question.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
If they're attracted to each other. It's kind
But
of
who
cute.
would be attracted to Billy Crystal? Is that why it has some charm to it? Because is it Meg Ryan?
Yeah.
I mean, is she just a normie, like a wine mom, or like what is her character?
No,
I've never seen this.
She's like a career girl, sophisticated, moving in through life. Like
What was her
moving
career?
into the city. I forget.
Okay.
I didn't see that part of it, but so they meet when they're young and have a little conversation, and then they meet again years later and catch up. How do you do? And then they meet, like, move to New York City, and like they become really good friends. And so they've just always been friends, and they try to set each other up with other people, but it doesn't work out. And
what's the final revelation moment?
So Billy Crystal is totally a player, and he's trying to get over his ex-wife by...
Billy Crystal's a player?
Yeah, he's trying to get over his ex-wife by sleeping with a lot of women. And she's like, you sleep with, like, women like you're out for revenge. And she's trying to get over her ex-boyfriend who didn't want to marry her, and she hasn't been with anybody. So they're best friends, and one night she's all upset, and he comes over, and they end up sleeping together. And he pulls the classic, like, leave right after. And she's like, I thought we had something. And he's like, making it awkward.
Mm-hmm. Is that it?
No.
Well, then they're together, right?
No, well, then they have this period of, like, hating each other.
Oh.
Or she hates him because he totally, like, jilted her.
Okay.
And then he realizes that she's the best thing.
For him, yeah.
And they meet up on New Year's Eve, and that's it. End of story. Happily ever after.
Is that... Do you like it? Is it your favorite?
No. It's okay. I mean, it held up, let's put it that way. It caught my attention when I was scrolling through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so. And this one's kind of like Sleepless in Seattle. Meg Ryan was, like, in the 90s, like, the queen of romantic comedies. Remember?
Well, I know she's in 2, right?
Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. This one's kind of weird. I don't know.
Well, she's in 2. Is there other ones? There's You've Got Mail.
Yeah, she's in You've Got Mail, When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh, I forgot about Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah, Joe versus Volcano.
Yeah, I guess you're right. She would be the queen of 90s rom-com. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then where'd she go? She, like, disappeared.
I don't know. She got weird.
There was an article about her. What happened to Meg?
She got weird plastic surgery and never went in movies anymore.
You mean, is she Illuminati clone now?
I don't know.
Anybody that gets weird plastic surgery, it turns into the conspiracy of Illuminati clones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Renee Zellweger doesn't look like Renee Zellweger. I'll say that much. That bitch a clone right there. That's an Illuminati clone right there. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, she did get a weird...
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So then, what else? Sleepless in Seattle, she kind of... It's weird. She stalks him, and... But it does have that... Okay, what's that?
Psycho in Seattle.
What's that old movie?
Seattle, they're all psycho.
Where they were going to meet at the top of the Empire State Building, but she got hit by a car. Do you remember that movie? It's old.
Yeah. Is it Cary Grant or Jimmy Stewart?
One of those guys.
Yeah. We watched that, but I forget. I think it's Cary Grant.
So Sleepless in Seattle has...
a tribute to that.
Yeah.
Homage.
Yes. Yes. And then we have Serendipity. Remember that one?
This one I actually kind of like, okay, even though it was a bomb. John Cusack movies are fun if you like John Cusack. And this one has some interesting... It's kind of about providence or predestination and synchronicity. Mm-hmm. So there's also some weird references to Carl Jung in this plot, in this film. And it's at a weird juncture, too, where it's like transitioning out of the 90s into the 2000s, late 90s. And there's all these references to things that are not really here anymore, right? There's the alt scene comes up. The new age music scene turning pop was new at this time. So there's if you remember her, Kate Beckinsale's guy is that new age.
Yeah.
He's like the hot new age star guy. And he's just a freaking weirdo.
He plays some weird instrument.
He plays like a Kenny G thing. Whatever that Kenny G thing is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he plays the Kenny G, I will just say. And yeah, I mean, it's cheesy, it's dumb. I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm just saying that this one had some elements that I didn't expect. Not sure how to read it, but I think the idea is that weren't both of them sort of trying to force things, right? And then It was kind of more like submitting to the flow of things, because the more John Cusack was going psychotic trying to find the bookstore where he could find the book that she wrote, right? The used book that she wrote her number in. Mm-hmm. Remember? Mm-hmm. The whole book is him trying to track, or movies that him trying to track that down. And then there's the lost glove, right? And so they meet. He by chance, when he's ready to give up, he's tired of looking for her. Then he by chance comes across the book with her phone number. Remember? Mm-hmm.
When he's about to marry someone else.
It's serendipitous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was going to marry somebody else. That's right.
This one has the trope of the hot guy the protagonist thinks she's supposed to be with is completely wrong for her and also an ass.
Yeah.
Right? So the one she's chasing or the one she's with is never the one she's supposed to be with. Mm. This one, I don't know if I like it. Like,
why?
I don't know. Because it glorifies the idea that some fantasy is always better than what you have, which
that's right. That's right. What was John Cusack getting married at the beginning?
Yeah, they both were. Or like, and she got proposed to, and it's like the people that they were with were perfectly nice. It just wasn't this one person I met so long ago.
That's a good point.
Could be
it's impractical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't
it's
meet.
You
cute,
don't. But it's
that's right. Because so they met up. That's right. And within one night, all right, like they go walking around the town and ice skate, and John Cusack decides that she was the one.
Because of a glove or something.
Because like of dude, you're not gonna fall for some chick. Like, you're crazy if you're ready to get screwed over. Like, right? I mean, you don't even know she could be insane, dude. Anyway, but that's obviously like, rom-com fodder for sure.
So
but
it begs the question, like, are there sometimes dark forces at work that try to keep people unhappy or like
grass is greener?
Yeah,
someday.
break up people that could be fine together. I don't know.
Well, the grass always seems greener until you go to the grass and you find that there's a large pile of dog shit in the grass.
Well, the grass is green where you water it, I guess.
If we got any more cliches, let's just make up some. The grass is greener where the dog shit is. Interpret that, right? Because it's like,
maybe poo
fertility.
Is like yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. But this one had all the skating in the park in New York City.
Serendipity 2, The Revenge. The two, like, the new age guy, like, comes back to try to murder. Because he's a psycho. That would be funny.
Yeah. So then, what else? Groundhog Day. You want to talk about Groundhog Day?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of our, lead one, because it's, this is one of the better films in this list from my vantage point, obviously. But there's another one that's critically acclaimed and won Academy Awards that I had never seen. That was bizarre. It had some very strange elements that I didn't expect, especially since it was from the 60s. So we watched the Billy Wilder Apartment.
You gonna do that one now?
No, we'll save the Apartment. But I just wanted to mention that even though The Apartment is the critically acclaimed one, it's not my favorite. It was risque for its time. It had some very surprising themes for the early 60s. And it's sort of the raunchy comedy of the time, of the 60s, right? And there's some bizarre elements in the sense of things that you wouldn't expect, potentially relating to like mind control, and with none other than Shirley Maclaine. So I don't know anything about Shirley Maclaine. I've never cared about her movies. But what is interesting is that she becomes one of the champion evangelists of the New Age, right? So by the late 70s, early 80s, she was like really charting the course of being probably one of the most outspoken in the public sphere Hollywood evangelists for the New Age movement. So she definitely has had some kind of strange lineage. I haven't followed her career. I don't know much about her, but that I did know because when I was studying, the New Age stuff and how that was occultic and all that back in the late 90s when I first looked at that, I started to realize that was one of the first instances I noticed of the connection between Hollywood and cults, right? Hollywood in the New Age. Everybody knows about Charles Manson, but I'm saying that, she was really literally an evangelist for the New Age, and her whole thing was the light, like a bringer of the light, and we're all, bringers of this Luciferian light. So it'll be interesting to look back at her own life, because she, as I was reading the Wikipedia, noted that she usually plays these quirky, eccentric, strange woman. That's her character pretty consistently. So that suggests that perhaps there's more in her background and past. I don't know. But anyway, go ahead. So we'll be looking at The Apartment in a minute, which is Jack Lemmon and Shirley Maclaine, and that's a Billy Wilder film. But
okay. We're talking about Groundhog Day?
Well, let's talk about Groundhog Day, because this is like one of the better films in this lineup, and more or less has a positive message. I mean, I think that I wouldn't say that it's a Christian movie. Obviously, it's not, but it has a good moral. It has a good kind of. It's more philosophical. It's the most philosophical, perhaps, of these. Because usually rom-coms aren't really philosophical, but this one is unique. It is. It's about Nietzsche. It's about existentialism. It's about God. It's about philosophy, and it's about love and life. And I did do an analysis of this about 5 years ago, and I didn't see anything new this time around. I think most of what I had in the original analysis I would repeat, but it was interesting to watch it again with you because, well, let's just get into it. I mean, let's so you have this sort of stuffy, arrogant, sophisticated weatherman, right? Who thinks he's this like superstar in his head, or he's deluded, right, to think that he's like, an A-lister when he's just like a local Pittsburgh weatherman, right, in the city. And he's assigned, of course, the mundane task of going and covering this goofy Punxsutawney Phil ritual of the groundhog who comes out and predicts whether there's 6 more weeks of winter, right?
So he's a sophisticated city man.
Once again, right? Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really like, initially, the Andie MacDowell character, who's his new producer. He thinks she's a rube, and she has a southern accent, so I don't know if she's actually a southern person. I don't know anything about her, really. Or if that's her character, is just, so he just assumes that she's a rube. Mm-hmm.
She's optimistic, and she's wholesome and happy.
Yeah. And he's cynical and pessimistic and kind of, the egotistical jerk guy.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, there's several scenes in here where he's going against the forces of nature. So in the first day, he's against every synchronicity or flow or whatever you want to call it. He makes the wrong decision at every opportunity, right?
Yes. So initially, he enters the arena, I guess you could say, of this small town in his worst state of being. Mm-hmm. And this is all about transformation. It's about his, again, it's a moral story. It's in a way, kind of an alchemical story. I mean, it doesn't explicitly reference that, but it does bring in all the big themes of life: good, evil, virtue, vice, addiction, self-perception, delusion. There are a lot of interesting philosophy, and it's even referenced at times, right? They reference different, famous works of literature. But so the theme of eternal return, I think, is present in the film. The idea of cyclical history, reincarnation, that's all Nietzschean. There's an existentialist element to this because, like, he's confronted with people that are, in many ways, what he thinks are fake. They're actually authentic, right? The people in the small town are far more wholesome, authentic, and enjoying life, whereas he's completely miserable. Right? That's the self-discovery that he has to come to is knowledge of himself, right? And he has this completely deluded self-image. So before we get to all that stuff, though, there's another interesting element of going against nature, right? So the forces of nature in this film, represented by water, by the snow, by Punxsutawney Phil,
the wind. blizzard,
the wind, all of these things continually come up. And being this city man, right, this so-called sophisticated city man, and being a weather man, right, there's this one line where he says, when the blizzard comes through and he's trying to leave the first time, he says, I make the weather, right? So he's got this deluded self-perception that he's basically God because he's a weatherman, right? Like, what is the weatherman? Well, because the weatherman foretells the future, then in some way he controls the future, right? That's the delusion here. And so, by the way, this is very similar to the other role that he plays around the same time in the early 90s, Scrooged, right? This is another version of him playing Ebenezer Scrooge. And by the way, Scrooged has some very kind of wild esoteric themes in it as well. But we'll talk about Scrooge some other time. But so it's just interesting that, right, that Bill Murray plays this same kind of problematic character more than once. And so when he's there, he's confronted with what he thinks is this mundane world. And in fact, that's more real, more authentic, more wholesome, more alive than the city life, which is actually the opposite. It's unnatural. It's not wholesome. It's degenerate. And that's what's kind of weird about Groundhog Day, is that it flips the typical Hollywood narrative of the city person being, you know, the sophisticated know-it-all who instructs the stupid rednecks, right? Anytime Mulder and Scully go somewhere, right, like the local police are completely bumbling idiots, right? But all of the FBI agents, when they show up, right, they know everything. But this flips that narrative on its head, right? It turns it around. And in that sense, I think it's a better, more wholesome approach, because that's actually probably typically more true nowadays, especially, right? I mean, I think people... And again, to be fair, there are idiots in the city and idiots in the country and in the South. There's plenty of idiots in this. There is idiots everywhere, but cities do have this tendency to become very, degenerate, right? This is all throughout history. And then people flee to the countryside to kind of get away from that and return to nature. Right? This is a theme in literature even pretty often. And that's what's going on here. So it's the city man confronted with what he's alienated from, nature. And the irony is that he's the weatherman, right? He's supposed to know everything about nature. But he doesn't know anything about nature, right? Mm-hmm. That's what's so ironic, right? In the true sense of irony here in this film. And there's a connection between the gopher and Bill Murray.
They're both named Phil.
They're both named Phil. And what's interesting is that Punxsutawney Phil, that they're all making fun of him at the beginning, right? Do you remember? They're all making jokes about, and Bill Murray says, I can't stand that rat. I can't stand him. He's a rat. And he's always going, right? But he's mocking himself because he's the real goofy character, right? It's not the groundhog, right? Mm-hmm. Bill Murray is the groundhog. And that's why it's called Groundhog Day. It's because he's the real fool character, the rat, the cartoon character, right? He's the cartoon, and so what has to happen is he has to be transformed. And what happens in this process is that he comes to the end of himself, right? When he's presented with the cyclical, never-ending day that just keeps coming and coming and coming, the eternal return, it pushes him to nihilism. Right. And so the first thing he starts to question is meaning, life itself. He's like, what is the point of all this? And then he basically decides that he wants to die. Right. Remember how when he first realizes what's going on, he wants to go tempt the fates. Right. He wants to go see if he can, get drunk with those dudes and then, try to wreck the car on the train tracks. Right.
And then he's just living for pleasures.
Right, so he moves from like that wild sort of like psychotic phase into, well, then I'll just, satisfy the base pleasures, right? So he just eats whatever he wants. He eats donuts and like whole pieces of cake for breakfast, right? And he's smoking a cigarette. He's sitting there stuffing his face with cakes, smoking cigarettes. She's like, don't you worry about your health? He's like, no. And And then he decides, oh, now I'm going to move to a different vice, right? So he moves from gluttony to lust. He starts using his knowledge to, get information on women and then get them into bed, right? So he keeps doing, and then he gets money, right? Then he steals the money from the safe or from the truck, and he finds that these vices don't satisfy him either. So there's this sort of Ecclesiastes theme that comes into play with, vanity of vanities, all is vanity, right? So then he starts to ask questions about God. He says, maybe all of reality is my projection and this is happening because I'm actually God, right? So he has, the next phase is like the ultimate delusion after his nihilism, atheism phase, right? Because he actually says there is no tomorrow, right? When he's about to wreck the car with the drunk guys, he's like, there is no tomorrow. So if there's no tomorrow, our actions have no consequences because it's nothing, right? So he's a nihilist. But he realizes that that's also a dead end, right? So every one of these attempts to philosophize and explain his situation is a dead end. And he finally starts to think, okay, now what I have to do is I have to fix everything. So he's still deluded because even though he's getting better and he's realizing that he has issues. Do you remember this part in the film? He thinks he can go do all these good works and fix everything and do it perfect. Mm-hmm. And it still doesn't work because he still thinks he's in control, right? Mm-hmm. Even though he's had a lot of revelations, even though doesn't necessarily think he's God, he thinks he can fix everything. And he's basically not coming to the end of himself still. That's the point I'm trying to say, right?
He thinks he has to do everything perfectly, but he can't.
Right.
Yeah.
And he realizes that he can't. And that's another level of frustration that he encounters, right? But that leads him to then realize that he's not God. He will face death. And there's an important scene where he sees the bum. And the old guy, right, dies. Because he didn't help the bum. You walked out of the room at this point, but he didn't help the bum at the right time. And he's like, that's not fair that guy died. And he says, we're going to put an end to this. And so the next day, he tries something different. The bum still dies, right? And he keeps trying different things. And then the nurse says, it was just his time to go. He's an old guy. And then he comes to reconciliation with the fact that he can't control life and death and providence, right? And nature. I'm not saying death is natural, but in the sense that you can't be God and just decide, I'm going to fix everything. I'm going to decide my life. I'm going to control the weather. I'm going to put an end to death. You can't do that, right? And so in that sense, the moral of this story is more or less Christian, even though it's not explicitly Christian. It's him coming to the end of himself, realizing that he can't save himself, right? Mm-hmm. He's playing games with himself, right? And really, he's his own worst enemy. And then when he finally finds love, that's what leads him to basically exit this prison that he's self-imposed. Mm-hmm. That's why I think this is a really good film. What do you think?
You said everything. Said it all about Groundhog Day. I like that he had to take the time to court one girl instead of all the girls. He had to learn. He decided to focus on the Annie McDowell.
Well, he had to be reconciled to all of these other problems before he could find love.
Yeah.
In other words, he had to see his own problems before he could truly love somebody.
Right.
Because the only person he loves is himself.
Yeah.
For the whole time.
Yeah.
And then he confronts death and more or less experiences a death to himself.
Who knew Groundhog Day was so deep?
No, well, I did an analysis of it 5 years ago, and I covered all those themes. So
that's good. So then we got The Apartment.
Thanks, guys. By the way, we'll read these super chats in a moment. I appreciate that. But yeah, I think I do think it's a good philosophical film. So what are we at? The Apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a weird one. I thought, it's just going to be a cheesy kind of goober level rom-com because, You know, I mean, Jack Lemmon is a goober. Like, he's always playing a Jerry Lewis kind of goober character.
Mm-hmm. This one's
It
about...
was a little darker than I expected.
It's about New York City life. So this one takes place in the Big Apple, like a lot of the rom-coms. Starts out with Jack Lemmon, who works at the insurance place, right?
He's a low man, a bureaucrat, a paper pusher on the totem pole in this giant insurance company.
It's like insurance worker farm or something, and they just tick, 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 tick all the time on their little...
Yeah,
computers.
and his higher ups, the middle management guys, use his apartment for their affairs. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't have any backbone, so he never tells them no. But he finds that just going along and never saying no is actually a good way to climb the corporate ladder. So the little bit of an irony here is that he actually starts climbing the ladder and getting raises, getting promotions by letting all the corporate managers come use his apartment as a flop house.
Mm-hmm. So, and they do it so much that the doctor that lives next door wants him to donate his body to science. And he's like, how do you do it every day?
He thinks that Jack Lemmon is like this greatest ladies man ever, right?
Yeah.
Because he hears like all of the love making that goes on in the apartment. And he plays along with it, right? So, oh, yes, yeah, it's me. I'll donate my body to science because I'm just such a great lover. And then he has a chance meeting, the meet cute, right? Mm-hmm. In the elevator with the young Shirley Maclaine. Mm-hmm. And she is the elevator girl. I don't know why you need an elevator girl because she just does...
Yeah, she just pushes the button.
The person to push the button?
That seems like a really easy job. In the 60s, you could live in New York City and all you had to do was stand in an elevator.
She's making a living by
in
pushing
Manhattan. Yeah, and you just...
That's funny, too, because he said he makes $97 a week, right?
Yeah.
And he's got a 3-room apartment. Mm-hmm. I'm like,
yeah, right.
In New York, $97. So there's inflation for you, right?
So what else? Oh, so one night he had to stay outside of his apartment. He got the COVID cootie.
Well, the interesting theme here is that he's a bachelor, right? So he's single, and you would think that he would make the most of this lifestyle, given that he's in New York, he's single, he's moving up the corporate ladder. But he comes home alone at night, every night, alienated, nobody, no friends, right? No girlfriend.
And he TV dinner.
He just eats TV dinners, right? So this is an interesting theme for the 60s, and just kind of hinting at the sad, emptiness of that, city lifestyle without another person. And he finally kind of has a realization that his life is, there's nothing to it, right? He doesn't have anything. He's alone. And the next day in the elevator, he, bumps into her and starts to try to flirt with her, and they have this, kind of a quasi flirty exchange, but she doesn't really seem interested because we find out that the higher up, basically the CEO level dude, we'll call him the CEO of the company, is sleeping not only with the elevator girl, but with many of the girls in the company. And he just kind of moves on down the line, right, to different ones. This leads to a bunch of drama and interactions between the CEO, Jack Lemmon, and Shirley Maclaine. The love triangle develops, and there's an interesting scene where he finds out, of course, that she is being taken to his apartment, right? So he likes her, he has a crush on her. And then he finds out the CEO is sleeping with her at his apartment. Mm-hmm. And so now he's presented with a dilemma because the CEO is about to give him a promotion, right, to the top assistant, like number 2 in the company, but he has to keep letting, right, her sleep there. And now we've entered into the realm of commodification, right? So this is an interesting element to this movie that I didn't expect, which is that it's about everything having a price, right? And I mean, in a Wall Street capitalist world, which is this is set in, right, the heart of Wall Street, in a giant, insurance firm, he has to grapple with: do I want the promotion or the person, right? And there's a price for everything. And what's funny is that the middle management and the CEO guy, they see it that way, right? They're very upfront. Everything's out in the open. Like, everything has a price. Relationships have a price. Love has totally its price. And think about, what is an apartment? An apartment is not a house. It's not a place that you plan to have future generations in, right? It's a temporary dwelling place, a little bit longer term duration than a hotel, but it still is a temporary dwelling place, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just for the moment, right? It's in the here and the now. And it's the same with the idea of the Wall Street monopolist mindset. It's not about long-term stuff. It's about feeding the consumer the here and the now, right? Living the sleep with anybody lifestyle is all about the here and the now. It's nothing about the future.
You remember how hedonistic they were at the
That's
office
what I'm saying. The whole office party is all hedonism and everyone hooking up.
Yeah.
And who's the only person that owns something in this? It's ironically, we don't even ever see the middle management people owning anything. Now, this is ironic because we live in this is the milieu. This movie is in the setting of like the high point of Wall Street capitalism, monopoly capitalism, right? And yet everybody in the company and everybody in the middle management and below, they are renting everything. They don't own anything. Mm-hmm. They don't even have a partner. The only person who has anything is the CEO. He's the only person that we see owning anything, and he owns a house, like a nice big house, and he's got kids and a wife. So he has possessions. He owns this company, or he's the head of this company, right? And what does he want? More. He's not satisfied. He wants, just goes down the line, right, of the women in the company. Mm-hmm. And so the irony is here, everyone is trying to climb this ladder to get to where they have things. And then the guy who has all the things doesn't find any satisfaction in all the things. Mm-hmm. And so it's just this never-ending cycle, right? Like the whirlwind, that you're never at peace or content. There's no contentment in this world.
That reminds me of the serendipity principle. Is there always something better that you're missing out on?
Well, it's related to that, but I'm just getting at the point of more. I gotta have more. It's like a giant hole, and you just you keep shoveling food in, mm-hmm. and you're never full, right?
It's like a black hole.
It is. I mean, Solomon says this too, right? Like you can never fulfill wine, women, song. There's nothing that ever fulfills the void. Mm-hmm. Just more. So I appreciate that element of this movie. I'm not saying it's the greatest movie. That was just an interesting theme that was present in the film. And then, of course, eventually, as you can imagine, Jack Lemmon is presented with the choice of, will he be a mensch or will he be a schmuck, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's what the Jewish psychiatrist or doctor, psychologist, whatever he is, that lives next door to him, right, tells him, like, what you're looking for, right? You're trying to be that CEO guy, but the CEO guy is not happy, right? Mm-hmm. What you're looking for is like right in front of you, right? That's always a theme in the rom-com, is that what they're looking for is, it's right in front of my face, right?
My best friend is my soulmate.
I mean, obviously life is not that simple, but I'm just saying that's a trope that's always in the rom-coms. And the point is just this, that one thing that I disagree with about the movie is that Shirley Maclaine is not a good partner. Like, she's not a person that you would want to form this relationship with.
No,
I mean, there's multiple red flags here with this girl. I'm not saying that she couldn't be healed, because obviously every character in this movie is damaged, mm-hmm. right? They're damaged people. Perhaps we're supposed to think that the city corporate life itself damages people, but the Jack Lemmon character is damaged because he's weak, mm-hmm. right? And we're constantly despising him throughout the movie because he's weak. I mean, he's not all bad. He's a likable guy, but he's also milquetoast. He just lets everyone walk over him. He doesn't have any backbone, and that's one reason that she doesn't really like him. Like, even though he's got a little bit of game, he flirts with her, and she's kind of interested in him. but he doesn't show backbone, and she doesn't like him until he shows backbone, right? But with her character, what's interesting is that she says she's broken. And I thought that was weird because that's at the scene where the mirror is broken. She looks in the mirror and she says, I like this broken mirror in my cigarette case. She says, because it shows me how I really am. And I think that's accurate too. Like the city girl, right? Aren't they typically broken?
Well, yeah, and I don't know. Obviously, she had to be to have an affair with a married guy. I just don't know what's going on in a girl's head when she goes with a married man.
Well, she thinks that she's going to, this is her ticket out, right? Because remember, she was like, oh, I got into money trouble. I didn't get the job. She said, I can type really fast, but I can't spell.
Yeah.
She's like, so I was counting on when I moved here, getting the job as a secretary. She's like, but I couldn't spell, so they just gave me the elevator job, and so now I don't make any money.
Oh.
So she sees that CEO guy. If I sleep with him, oh, it's my ticket out of here. And then he like drops her $100 bill, and then she feels like a prostitute, right?
So this gets dark really fast too. It's not like your typical rom-com. She has a suicide attempt, right?
Yes. So she realizes what she's done by sleeping with him, and she feels like a prostitute. And then she realizes that she's at Jack Lemmon's apartment. She doesn't even know that until this point. And then she takes a bunch of sleeping pills, right? So she tries to kill herself. And then he nurses her back, and he's even willing to cover all this up to protect the CEO, to protect his job, right? But it's all, what's ironic is that it's all done under the guise of him caring and being a nice guy, but it's all completely selfishly motivated. I mean, he wants to save his job that he's like compromised his way up to. And that's why he doesn't have that change of heart until he sees how bad the CEO is. And then he's like, no, you can't use my apartment anymore. And the CEO can't believe it because he's like, well, then you're going to be fired. He's like, I don't care.
He grew a spine.
Right. So what he realized was that mammon is not going to satisfy you and is an endless chase. It's chasing your own tail is the point. And the point is, and every character in this is that way. But I just thought it was interesting that there is this sort of explicit reference to Shirley Maclaine saying she's broken, she's a messed up person. She almost seems dissociative, right?
Yeah.
Which was odd.
Adult themes in this one. I mean, this is like one of the classic, when you search up romantic comedies, this comes up all the time as one of the classic.
Well, yeah, it won multiple awards, Best Actor, Best Picture. Right? So it was the movie of 1960, whatever. I think that, or am I mixing that up with French Connection? I think The Apartment won awards. I think I'm right.
Well, he's looking it up. All right, so that was The Apartment. What else do we have? Clueless. This is a great 90s movie. One of the classics, right?
Girls always love you as a female. You are a female, correct? Why do girls love this movie? What's the draw? Because girls love this movie. What's the draw here?
I guess the outfits and the music and the time period and the characters, they just pop in that year.
I was right, by the way. So who was it? Jack Lemmon won Best Actor in this, Best Director, Golden Globe, Billy Wilder, and then a couple other. Actually, Shirley Maclaine won Best Actress too.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of awards for this strange movie.
I think the setting too, Los Angeles and Beverly Hills, and
oh yeah.
So it's a very 90s California.
Isn't it Paul Rudd? Isn't Paul Rudd the brother? Yeah.
Yeah, Paul Rudd. So these are your notes. I can't read them, so you'll have to help me, and I'll help you remember what's going on.
So is there a consumerism theme in this?
Definitely.
Right? Because she just shops, right?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Cher.
So the whole thing is shopping, consumerism, commercialism. That was like the whole mindset that I know.
That's the Beverly Hills mindset.
Is that the thing that she has to overcome? Is she
yeah.
petty?
Yeah. So
okay.
she's just vain.
Vanity.
She's clueless.
She's okay. Yeah,
so she thinks she knows everything about high school and life, and she thinks she's got it all figured out, but she's actually pretty clueless about it.
Is she the most popular chick?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she's the head of she's the popular girl, and she's a rich girl.
Yeah.
And she lives in the valley, right? So she's the valley girl.
Well, she lives in Beverly Hills.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What does this mean?
CPU what?
Oh, she was already... Remember how she had like some... Because she's a rich girl, she had a computer...
Yes.
That told her how to match her...
Yes.
She had a computer dressing program,
yeah.
which is bizarre, but already, right, we get this idea that... So she goes on like a GeoCities site and it's like telling her what to wear.
And her closet like is automated, remember?
That's right. So, but she has like a smart house, basically, right? And so, I don't know.
If you said that's one.
Well, this was like spawning those '90s catchphrases.
Yeah.
As if.
Yeah.
Like what? This kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Valley girl, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
She's not
LA,
a Valley
girl, yeah.
But I mean, doesn't she use this slang, right? In class, they have a debate about refugees.
Oh yeah.
That was odd. Everyone.
Well, there's different students that have different causes, and
right.
So she has to learn how to.
Oh, that's right. So
back.
Already in high school, the idea that you've got to, in order to get ahead in life, be part of a cause, and especially if you're, upper class, Beverly Hills, California elite. Oh, cause celeb is to have your cause.
Yeah.
Right.
But she doesn't have one yet. So
right. So she's shopping for her cause, which is retarded. But, and then she says.
Well, then she thinks her cause is to give makeovers. Like she takes Brittany Murphy's character, and befriends her. She sees the loser from across the way.
Oh, so this is one of those.
I can make her into
a makeover rom-com, like the teen makeover movie. Yeah. And by the way, probably if you look into the history of Brittany Murphy, it looks like she actually was star-whacked. There's some interesting story background to Brittany Murphy and what happened to her. I don't know for sure, but it does seem like she was star-whacked, actually. So I remember when that happened, that was because I was already into the conspiracy Hollywood vantage point right back when that happened, and that was kind of wild when that all went down. Mm-hmm. And she was kind of like, that was at her peak too. She was like rising, star. Could have been probably A-lister. Mm-hmm. And then she just ends up dead. Interesting. But where are we at?
As if every Pearl Jam escaped high school.
Was there a reference to the psychiatric institute at mental institute at her high school?
I don't remember.
I can't remember if that's in the movie or if I was just making the connection between the similarities between high school and mental institute. I'm not joking. Like the style of the buildings, the architecture, the structure, the classes, the rooms, the bells, right? Mm-hmm. High school, prison, mental institute, they're essentially designed the same. And that's not by accident, by the way, if you get into the history of...
Prisons, too.
I said prison, yeah. But we covered that many times. You can go listen to my old article, read my old articles on public education.
Her older stepbrother.
Oh, she chooses environmental law.
Yeah.
She chooses the green crap.
No, her older stepbrother is in college, and he knows all about like what's on the news. She doesn't understand the news when they're watching it.
Oh, he's educated because he went to college, so he can understand the news. Imagine thinking that understanding the news made you an intellectual.
Yeah.
How laughable is that, dude?
And so he thinks that she's just an airhead in her views.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Imagine thinking that going to college makes you an intellectual, right? Well, I mean, it could, but I'm just saying that overall, it's not. It's a scam.
I think there was a scene where they had a college girl in the car with him, and she was like, no fun, because she was the typical social justice college woman.
Yes, the social justice is a theme in this.
Yeah.
Exactly. The bullshit morality, right, of like the Hollywood elites pushing their causes, right? That is an interesting theme in this movie, because it's another thing they shop for. It's just a sales marketing commodity thing. It's all virtue signaling, and her whole ethos as a rich Beverly Hills girl is virtue signaling, right? The Gen X rich kids were the first to do this like extreme level of virtue signaling. That's an interesting element here. Now, I'm not saying that, let's see, what's the previous one? Not boomers, but what's...
Silent generation?
No.
World War II?
No. Gen X.
Millennial?
No.
Gen X,
but yeah, no. Between Gen X and boomer.
I don't know.
What's between Gen X and boomer? Isn't there something? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point being is that I don't think... I mean, yes, the 60s countercultural people, they were the first to do the social justice stuff. And then they raised their kids with the attitude that part of your life is to find meaning in these ridiculous causes. Which is just a replacement version of religion. It's a replacement civic version of what you would be doing if you were in the church or whatever. It's a secular religious charity, basically. It's the replacement for charity. And so she thinks that makeovers, nose jobs are good deeds. That's an interesting element here.
Yeah.
Right? Her way to be good and virtuous, her cause
is to make everyone like her.
To make everyone like her, but does she give makeovers?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what she's doing to all Brittany Murphy's persona. She's making it over, and
so the individual is the commodity. That's what's in this hyper bougie, hyper capitalist, hyper social justice world. It's fascinating.
This what she.
I mean, the irony is that, I mean, if you thought about it for a second, why would I even care if I'm hyper self-interested? Why would I even care about a cause? You see, it doesn't matter what the inner attitude that you have towards a cause is. It's only the facade that you're selling. Even the adoption of the cause is itself a selling point to market you through as a virtue signaler. That's the irony here. Isn't that funny?
So she's just going through high school thinking she's doing all these good deeds.
But I'm saying this about the attitude of who this is caricaturing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The real people that this is caricaturing.
And they're always collecting things for victims of some kind of tragedy. What?
That's the cause. That's one of the causes.
Yeah. So then what? I
don't remember. They had some funny terms. The stoners and the loadies.
That's what Brittany Murphy was before she adopted her. Yeah.
So if you
the loadies hang out over there.
If you get high a lot, you're a loadie. Loaded. There's a bunch of the weird slang. That's what I'm trying to say. The California slang.
Yeah. This guy.
By the way, there's a reference to the sterilization of humanity for its own good.
I don't remember that.
Now, this is all about the marketing of causes and image, right? That's the whole movie. And by the way, the irony, I think, would be that the name of the movie betrays the people who are this wealthy strata of, Orange County or Beverly Hills or whatever that are like this. They're clueless.
Yeah.
Now, there may not be clueless in the sense of like how to look cool or whatever bullshit like that, but when it comes to how the world really works, they are actually clueless.
Do you remember her dad is a defense lawyer?
Yeah.
So he's
What?
getting people off. Right.
What about it?
He's just making money by people committing crimes and getting them off. That's his,
Oh, I didn't. Okay,
Right.
I didn't remember that. So she.
because he teaches her how to cheat the system. He's like,
Oh, she would. By
if
the way,
you argue your grade up from what it was,
I see.
then it's just as good because you talked him into it, right?
It's all about working the system.
Yeah.
She and her mom. Remember, her mom acts like a teenager, and she is the mom. So she's forced to be the more mature one, right?
I don't remember she had a mom in this one. I
Yeah.
don't think
The mom acts like the little girl. That she's immature.
her mom.
Or if their mom isn't there, she's the surrogate mom.
Oh, she mothers the dad because the mom died.
That's
what you're
it.
thinking.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then she ends up then wanting Paul Rudd because he's older and more mature.
Mm-hmm.
But that itself is ironic because, I mean, he's not actually more mature. He's a college woke bro.
Mm-hmm.
Before there were woke bros.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're all clueless. that's what I'm saying.
That's a really good analogy. Like, I never thought of it in that deep of a way before.
Well, look at the causes. I mean, the whole movie is about that,
Right.
and that time frame was when that was a new idea, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you were in high school in the 80s, you weren't shopping for a cause,
You weren't trying to save the world, Greenpeace and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
Most of
later.
High school and
right? I mean, but the idea of social justice causes is definitely a 60s, counterculture thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't become normative for everybody until those boomers are raising kids
Yeah,
in high school in the 80s and 90s.
that's pretty deep. It's really good.
Where we at?
Well,
I mean, we've been going for over an hour, so
Yeah.
is there any key ones that you think we need to hit on that have...
Okay.
One, I did actually think that Ghosts of Girlfriends Past was enjoyable. That one was okay.
One of my favorite movies, anyways, not just rom-com, but I think While You Were Sleeping holds up. I love that movie.
Oh, with Mulder and Sandra Bullock.
No,
Bill
not-
Pullman.
Bill Pullman and Sandra Bullock, and bonus points because it's a Christmas rom-com, which is another like subs.
That's the
genre
greatest
of
present
itself.
ever is to
Yeah.
meet my love at Christmas. That's the greatest present ever.
But it's just so funny and wholesome, and she has this fantasy about
Is
this
it really
guy.
funny? What do you mean?
I think it's funny. I just like it. Maybe I have.
I actually like Blast from the Past. Is that a rom-com?
Oh yeah,
That's actually
really
a good movie.
one.
I actually think that is an interesting movie. That has some weird philosophy elements in it
That's
too.
Alicia
And
Silverstone too.
Brendan Fraser. You got me to watch
So-
that. I thought that would be stupid. It was better than I thought.
I love that movie because it's all about
Well, there's a weird Cold War themes in that movie.
Cold War. So he gets trapped down there for 30 years, and he grows up with his parents.
Well, let's save that. We'll cover that.
Okay.
Because I actually think that you could dissect that movie.
Yeah, that's a good idea because I like that one. But
Even though it's a
anyways, While You Were
comedy.
Sleeping, it's just like she thought the one guy was her Prince Charming, but it was the other guy. That's a classic chestnut.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those ones that you can keep watching and it just makes you smile every time. So
Is that it?
whatever. We got Notting Hill, Bridget Jones, Philadelphia Story. I like because I like Cary Grant, and that's one of the classic rom-coms, right?
Yeah, Philadelphia Story was better than I expected. To
that
me, it was a
Katharine
little.
Hepburn?
Yeah, it was a little boring, a little slow, but it's not. It's a good film. If you're in the mood for an older movie.
I like how he gets his wife back. Love Actually, I put on here. You remember that one?
Yeah, it's.
I don't like it as
You
much.
and my mom like that movie.
Actually, I
so
kind of
good.
changed my mind because a lot of the people in that are just like not very good people, and a lot of the vignettes are. I don't like it as much anymore.
So many of these are formulaic that very
Yeah.
rarely is there one that I mean, Shop Around the Corner. That was okay. I mean, Jimmy Stewart you know, he's usually in a good film.
But then they remade it to You've Got Mail.
I haven't seen that.
And you would not like it because it's Tom Hanks. So, anyways.
Did you like Ghosts of Girlfriend's Past?
Yeah, that's another.
Matthew learns his lesson.
McConaughey
Right?
has
He
to
learns
grow
his lesson,
up so he can be committed to some.
It's Jennifer Garner, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like that one. Well, she shouldn't have took him back. I don't think. I don't know. That's
they were friends from being kids.
Yeah, but then like one where they're sleeping together messed it up again, and he wasn't ready to settle down because. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of Emma Stone's first roles. Remember, she's his high school girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. Never Been Kissed. Do you like that one? Kind of.
Is that Drew Barrymore?
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was okay. It was so long ago when I saw that.
Yeah.
What's The Holiday?
That's Cara Diaz and Kate Winslet. We didn't watch that.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting Valentine wrap up there.
That's a lot of romance right there.
It is.
Oh, what did I write down here? The leading man is always an architect.
Here's the tropes that Jamie's tropes for the rom-com.
The airport declaration of love, the grand gesture.
Yeah, because somebody's about to leave.
There's always
you
an
gotta be at the
epiphany.
airport. Stop him at the airport.
Mm-hmm. There's always a beta male orbiter. Friend. Companion.
Wait, that wants the main girl or just
Yeah.
a buddy of the guy, the protagonist guy? What do you mean?
That wants the girl, like Ducky in that one movie.
Pretty in Pink.
Yeah. So she always has a backup friend that's... It could be a girl, but a lot of times it's a guy.
Yeah, well, Ducky is definitely the beta orbiter.
The friend zone.
Oh, yeah. That's
A lot of times she works at
Eternal
a
friend zone.
magazine or something like high fashion. It's not, it's always got to be glamorous.
Yeah, a glamorous job, yeah.
And then the New York City. It's always in New York.
Yeah.
Or another romantic type city.
Yeah, there's never a rom-com in, like, the small redneck town.
Sweet Home Alabama, I guess.
No, but she comes
went from the
I'm
city,
saying,
yeah.
like, to, like, backwoods people with, like, 50 IQ. That'd be a funny rom-com.
Yeah.
They don't know, like, they can't read or write.
Anyway, that was really fun. We had a lot of laughs, and...
Like a rom-com where they're getting people to write the love letters because they can't write. Because they're backwoods. All right, Luthien, $5. Nice job on the War Room. Jay and Jamie, thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, go check out, we did Harrison Smith, War Room, and the normal broadcast. So go check those out. Mark, $5. Is the rebuilding of the temple in Israel an entry point to the end, Antichrist? Could be. I don't know, but we don't know for sure that there is a temple being built. A lot of times these articles come out claiming from these goofy evangelical sites that there's a temple being built. I've been seeing those articles for 20 years, and I haven't seen the temple built. So, I don't know that it's being forced to bring that about. But if we do see a temple, I would definitely say that would be a sign of the end. Tom Green, $3. Random question, but I'm wondering how old many of your books are if they get damaged easily. I don't have a lot of old collector's books. Most of my books are just books I purchased in the last 20 years, relatively new. I bought a couple old preachers' commentaries and sets that were sold, like at yard sales and auctions. I have maybe 3 or 4 collector's books that are like maybe worth $80, but no, I don't have a fancy book collection. The main reason that I bought books was for the knowledge, not for collecting. Although it has piqued my interest at times. It's a pretty involved process to collect books. It's a lot of money, a lot of time. I don't have time to do all that.
You're 21. Collecting books is such a labor of love because you have to drag it with you everywhere. We both know
that's true. We
have an equal amount of books and they're still not even all set up yet. But if you love books and you really want a library, you can go to library book sales. That's a really good place to find cool, old, cheap books. If you want to still shop and you don't like just using Amazon. I don't even know if they'll have those anymore, but yeah, trying to build a library, it's fun and worth it, but it is a lot of weight lifting. Right. So he said, do you prefer hardcover or paperback? So I would say paperback just because if you lug it around all the time.
Well, obviously you want like a first edition hardback if you're a book collector, because that's going to be worth something.
If it's like your favorite book or something. But if you want to build a library, it just comes
depends on what
everywhere.
you're trying to do. Are you trying to learn things or build a library like a collector's book? Right? It's different things. I'm 21. I want to buy books to outlive me if possible. Well, then don't get paperback and don't buy Kindle. But yes, you're on the right track there. Mine Desire, $5. Rom-coms, animal movies like Buddy, American Pie. Watch any of these makes me want to hang myself. Cheers from Brazil. Yeah, thank you. Exactly. I hate animal movies. They're the stupidest thing of all time. They're worse than the rom-coms. The animal movies literally are the bottom of the barrel. They're worse than they're equal to kid movies. Yes, I agree. I've never seen American Pie, so I don't know. DC Customs, $5. No questions. I just love you. Well, we love you too, DC Customs. Much appreciated. Long-time supporter and watcher, DC Customs. Shout out Dyer McAdams. Also, shout out to our good friend Dyer McAdams, who's also a longtime super duper chatter and supporter. Good funny stream. Good funny. DC Customs, $5. Will you do another collab with Isaac? Yes. In fact, I was texting Isaac a couple days ago. So it's sure that'll happen soon. Just trying to get the timing right. Vibranium, $5. What is the ultimate 90s mom-com?
Mom romantic.
I invented a new term.
Mom romantic movie.
That's free. I'm gonna let you. Got it.
Mom-com?
This isn't my. That's what I said.
That's funny.
Mom-com. Answer it.
I know. It says it's got to be between When Harry Met Sally, Legends of the Fall, and the big one, Ghost. Oh, Ghost! I hate that movie.
But Legends of the Fall and Ghost are not comedies.
He just said mom romantic. He didn't say mom comedy.
I said mom.
But like, yeah, Far and Away, that was a big 90s mom. It's always about them being separated for 50 years and getting back together when they're old. Like, why do moms love that so much?
That's the worst possible. I would never watch any of those.
Vibranium, $5. No comment.
Burn David, 777. You the real blank. Blessings to you and Jamie, J&J.
Thank you.
Registered trademark. Thank you. Pano Costuros, $5. Happy V-Day. Happy V-Day. Been here for almost a year now, and this channel is truly peak content. Thank you. We hope to always produce that peak content. I have analyzed True Detective Season 1. In fact, one of the first audios I uploaded as a, quote, attempt at a podcast was my analysis of True Detective Season 1. So you can go dig back and find that. I apologize. It's bad quality because I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first attempt at an audio talk. And I'm sure it's pretty cringe, but I did do it. And by the way, I don't think True Detective it didn't make it into the book. It should have been in the book. I can't believe it. Well, I'll just put True Detective in the third book, right? I did analyze that. You can find it at Jay's Analysis. Warhammer Dwarfs, $5. Jamie is right. Check library book sales for books. Yes, I bought many books at library book sales. I got a 1938 hardback of Crime and Punishment in excellent condition for $5. You never know what you'll find. That's true. You can every now and then find those sort of gems that are actually worth something, but I don't know. It's a arduous process to hunt down valuable books. But anyway, thank you guys. A lot of fun. Happy V-Day. And all I've thought about today is the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That's all I thought about today.
What is that?
That's Al Capone mowing down his rival gang.
We're going to be doing mob movies
yes.
next.
So, by the way, I'm 7 chapters into the gigantic history of the 5 families. I did not realize when I got that book, I was getting into like a 800-900 page book on the history of the mob.
But that is going to make me, once again, your nerd who does your homework for you, right? I do your homework. That's what you get at Jay's Analysis. That's why you subscribe. I'm the Don of doing your homework. Now, you want to come to me, I'm going to do your homework for you, baby. You're going to pay, you're going to give me a little bit off the top? Huh? Maybe I make a little cut. Maybe I make $4.95 a month. Maybe I make $60 a year. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll see what happens, right? But you come to me, I do your homework for you, right? That's how that's our thing. That's our thing. That's our good thing we got here. We got a good thing. So $4.95, baby. $4.95. I'll do your homework for you, right? And when it comes to this 5 families thing, hey, I'm doing an 800-page for you. I'm doing an 800-page for you. What are you gonna do for me, huh? What are you going to do for me when I do this 800 pages for you? I'm going to do your homework. You're going to do something for me. You're going to do a little something for me. If you don't, you're going to wish that you had. Cholo Mexicano, $5. The best love story is the story of a gangster in love. Orale, a gangster's wife, is where it's at, homie. What is a good gangster in love? Well, see, now Scarface is gangster in love. Now, Godfather... yeah, no, actually, yeah, he does love her. Michael Corleone loves his wife.
Momo
was
like
supposedly faithful to his wife, which is interesting. He didn't have a Gumar.
Yeah.
Gangster love story. Who else? What's
I know a good
gangsters?
book about a gangster in love, called Reign of Gold by Victor Villaseñor.
Okay. What think of the movies though? Gangster movies.
Scarface? No, he hated her at the end. He was sick of her.
What does he say? All of this goes up your nose, right?
Yeah.
All that money goes up your nose.
Casino. He had
You
to
are
have,
too much blow.
He had to have Sharon Stone, and it turned out the same way.
Oh, I forgot
They're
about
always
Sharon Stone.
Skinny cokeheads at the end, and they hate him, and they're just like, screw you.
Well, no, he gets a dancer, right? She's
Sharon Stone.
She's a dancer, a Vegas dancer.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, she works in the casino.
Oh, you missed one though. You missed one.
Anyway.
Family Plan says something. Animal movies are kids' movies. Thanks for all you do. Keep it up.
Thank you. Yes. 2 genres I hate, so they're the same. Now, well, actually, I was going to say not necessarily, but yeah, you're right. Because now Milo and Otis is actually good. And I mean, I can only think of like one good animal movie ever. So
Hachi's good.
I don't know what that is.
It's a Richard Gere dog.
That already sounds like recipe for disaster, dude,
I like
already.
dog movies.
It's not Richard Gere and a gopher. Right. Anyway. All right, thank you guys. Yes, the mob stuff is coming, baby. Don't worry. It's gonna be the bomb, baby. It's gonna be bad. I'm like the first paper I ever wrote in my whole life. I'm a writer. If you don't know, I did do 2 books. You can get signed copies of my books at Jay's Analysis. Esther Hollywood 1 and 2. Well, guess what? The first essay I ever wrote was? It was on Al Capone. My 9th grade English paper. The teacher said, "I want y'all to write something on." That's how she talked. Miss, what was that crazy woman's name? Miss something. I don't remember, but y'all pick something that you really care about, and I want you to write on it. I was like, I want to write on Al Capone because I like gangsters. That's what I thought was cool in 9th grade was Al Capone. So I was raised on Hollywood movies. So what's cooler than Al Capone, right? So I wrote my first paper on Al Capone. I learned about him, and now here we are. I don't know how many years later after 9th grade, 25 something. I don't know. And we're gonna dive deep, dude. I'm learning so much about the mafia, dude. Like I'm gonna be an expert. I'm gonna get on Michael Franzese's YouTube channel and debate him, an actual mafia dude, and refute him. I'm gonna destroy all the mafia guys at debate. I'm gonna be like, They'd be like, I was in this game. I know this game from the inside. Yeah, but I know the history better than you, and I'm an encyclopedia, and I can out-logic you through the logic of my history of the mob. And then I will be the reigning Don. I'll be the Don of debate, dude. That'll be dope. The dope Don of debate. Dog. Doy. All right.